This is Mr. Wright. Today we're going to look at how to read and use a protractor. So if you look at the example on the board, we have a picture of a protractor. So the first thing we're going to do is look at how we can read these angles on it. If you look at the first one, there's an M in front of that angle symbol. The M, the way you read that is what is the measure of angle ABC. So it wants to know like what is the measure of angle ABC. So when we are looking at an angle, you just follow the letters. So I start at A, I go to B, then I go to C. So if you notice on a protractor, there's two sets of numbers. You have like one set of numbers like on the outside of the protractor, and then another set of numbers on the inside of the protractor. So in order to figure out which set of numbers you use, you look at the bottom of the angle. The bottom of the angle, you look at, it has to go through the 0. So if it's pointing to the left, and the 0 is like the outside set of numbers, so that's the set of numbers I'm going to use to figure out what the angle measure is. So from the 0, we're going to go up to the 60. So the measure of angle ABC is 60 degrees. The other angle is angle CBD. So I start at C, I go down to B, go down to D. So that's the angle that we're trying to find. The bottom of this angle points to the right. So the 0 is now like the inside set of numbers. So that's where I have to start, and I'm going to go up from 0. So if I go up from 0, the other line of the angle goes up to 120. So that angle is 120 degrees. Here are a couple more examples. The first one we're looking at is angle AEB. So if I start at 0 and go up, that would be about 47 degrees. This one we had to estimate because it didn't go through like the 5. It's between 45 and 50. Angle AEC. So it goes up from 0. That would be 105 degrees. The next two don't start at 0. So angle CED. So if it doesn't start at 0, you can actually use either set of numbers. It doesn't matter. So this one, I'm just going to use the outer set of numbers. So it starts at 10. If I use the outer numbers, it starts at 105 and goes to 130. So that angle measure, we subtract those two numbers, 130 minus 105, and you get 25 degrees. All right, and then the last one, angle BED. So again, it doesn't start at 0, so you have to figure out how far is it from that line to that line. So if I use the outer numbers, it goes from 47 to 130. So if you subtract those, 130 minus 47, you get 83 degrees. Okay, so that's how we read a protractor. Let's just look at how do we use a protractor. So if you have a protractor, in the middle of a protractor, it's going to be right there. There's going to be a hole. Okay, you have to line up that hole in the protractor with the vertex of the angle, which would be right there. So I'm going to put the protractor, that hole on the vertex of the angle. And then what you have to make sure you do is, like on the protractor, there is this line. You see how this is like, let me go back. So the line kind of goes through that hole. So it goes through like the 0 and the 180. You have to make sure that that line lines up with the bottom part of the angle. So right there, the bottom piece of the angle lines up with like the 180 and the 0. Okay, so that's kind of like the second step to make sure it lines up. Then at this point, now it's just how do you read the protractor? So like what we just went over. So make sure you start at 0 and then you're going up. So this time I'm using the outer numbers. So like this angle would be about 127 or 128 degrees. Let's go over one more. So I take the protractor, I put it the vertex, the whole of the protractor on the vertex. I rotate it to make sure it lines up, and then I read what the angle is. So this angle would be about 22 to 23 degrees, 22 degrees. And that is how you use a protractor.